Hi everyone, welcome back. Today we're going to make some sourdough. This is an example of an active sourdough starter. You want your bubbles to be nice and big when you pull it or pour it. If your bubbles are small and foamy, it means that you need to add more water and flour when you feed it. First off, we're going to start with 350 grams of water, and your measurements don't have to be exact. It's hard to get it perfectly even, so if you go a little bit over or a little bit under, it's totally fine. Next, we're going to add 50 grams of sourdough starter. Another sign that your starter is active is that it will float in the water like mine does here. Just mix these two until the sourdough starter is completely immersed in the water. Next, you're going to add 550 grams of all-purpose flour. Lastly, we're just going to add 10 grams of salt. I use a dough hook to mix this, but you can also just use a flat spatula, whatever works best for you. Now I like to wet my hands and go in and really almost knead it together. I also like to pull the sides into the center to form it into a little bit more of a ball, and also just to add in the dry bits of flour that are from the bowl. We're going to cover this with a wet tea towel so that it doesn't dry out and let it rest for an hour. Now we're going to do our first set of stretch and folds, and you're just going to pull from each side into the middle. You're going to rotate the bowl and do this 4 times until it is a complete circle. Once I'm done, I just like to pinch my seams together so it's a little bit cleaner and tighter. We're going to cover this again and let it rest for 30 minutes this time. Now we're going to do our second set of stretch and folds. Just do the same thing as the first set of stretch and folds. This time, as you can tell, the dough is tighter, which is exactly what we want. Again, just pinching my seams together, making it a bit of a cleaner and tighter ball. Now we're going to cover this with Saran Wrap and let it sit overnight for about 7 to 10 hours for the bulk fermentation. After the bulk fermentation, you don't want your loaf to be doubled in size, you just want it to be a little bit bigger. I like to put flour on the top of my dough because it gets a little bit of condensation and it gets a little bit stickier from the overnight fermentation. We're going to do one last set of stretch and folds, and this is shaping your loaf into a ball. Some people like to flatten their loaves out and then roll it tight into a ball, so whatever works best for you is great. This is just my preferred method. Now I'm going to put the seam side down and almost scoop it against the countertop until it forms a tight ball on the surface. Once I'm happy with the shape, I grab my banneton basket and put the loaf seam side up so that when you flip it onto your parchment paper, the pretty side is up. After you shape your dough and place it into the banneton basket and cover with the shower cap, you can put this loaf into the fridge for up to a week, and then when you're ready to bake it, just take it out and let it sit at room temperature for about an hour. Before you score your loaf, make sure to rub flour over the top so that your design is a little bit easier to see after it bakes. Before you score your loaf, preheat your oven to 450 degrees with the Dutch oven inside of it. The easiest way to score a loaf is with a sharp razor. Now we're going to put our loaf in the Dutch oven, and I like to put ice cubes in between the parchment paper and the Dutch oven so that the steam causes my loaf to rise better. After your bread has baked for 20 minutes, we're going to take the lid off and then bake again for 25 to 30 minutes until your loaf is looking nice and golden brown. Once your loaf is done baking, make sure to take it out and put it on a cooling rack. Before you cut into your loaf, make sure you wait 1 to 2 hours so that it can finish cooking on the inside. If you cut into your loaf too early, it will be gummy and sticky. After your bulk fermentation, when you put your loaf into the banneton basket, if you don't let it sit for about 30 to 60 minutes, your loaf will come out shiny like this, and that means that it's underproofed. To store your bread, just put it in a bread bag and store it at room temperature. It's good for about a week. You can also put it into a bag and an airtight container and freeze it for up to 3 months.